Hi guys. Recently I had one task to implement the certain logic in JavaScript file for a certain project. That was not hard. You can append existing functionality with your custom code and stuff. But the problem was that JavaScript file was used in multiple projects, like 150 of them, and I needed to implement that functionality just for two projects. The problem was to execute code, custom code, when something happens in some JavaScript functionality that's already working, and it can't be changed because it can break other projects. So I have created a solution, one short JavaScript file that is executing your custom code based on a name you give, and I have created JavaScript object that will be my whole functionality of those JavaScript events. Maybe this code exists somewhere, but I didn't have time to search for it, then read documentation in order to implement it properly. So I know this is not hard, so I created my short script. I will show you how to do it. You need two files, one HTML for testing and one JavaScript file where you will create your logic of events. I have used this logic that I will write in this JsEvents.js file. I have put it into main JavaScript file at the end, so every project will use it, but it will not break its functionality. So what we need the new JavaScript object, which will have three methods. One method is bind. It will receive two parameters, name and anonymous function, which will be called when event is executed. Second is call with the name. This will function execute your event. All anonymous function attached to that event name. Name will be part of our array inside this object. And third method is unbind. This will remove attached event, attached function to a certain event. Okay, so we need new object. We will call it JsEvents. Then we will create methods. Bind receives name and anonymous function. Second is call, just a name. This method will call all methods attached to event. And the third one, and not so important one, I even don't have it in my original code, unbind, but it can be really useful when you want just to execute your code once. And you can say ID. The ID will be unique ID that we will generate for each call of bind method. So what we need an array that will hold these events, and we can call it events. Autocomplete can be annoying. So now we have our array, and we will put all events inside it. So we will have we will first check if event exists in a list. Exactly, we will check. If it doesn't exist, we will create one node inside the list with the value of name, and we will say that it's equal to a new array. Why new array? Because we will create functionality that you will be able to attach multiple functionalities to a certain event. So like page loaded, you can create 2 to 3 different functionalities and attach code to it. So, and then we will just push our anonymous function to the list. So what we need to do, we need to avoid this push functionality in order to make our unbind method work. So we need to generate text like 10. So we will create var id and we will use built-in JavaScript function random to create random decimal number, and then we will convert it to string base 36, that's numbers and letters, and then we will replace all not alphanumeric characters. So we use Java regular expression for this. Okay, so in between these brackets we said all characters that are not in a range from A to Z, and from 0 to 9. Replace it globally. This means globally, not just the first occurrence, the whole string. Replace it with empty character. So we will get clean character without commas and any other character that we can get. And we will just use maybe 10, maybe 8, it's better, 8 characters of it. So we will get our ID, and then instead of pushing our function, we will push an object, JavaScript object, which will have its ID same as our variable that we generated up there, and then we can do it like this, maybe easier way. ID, yes, because it's already array, we can set its ID is equal new JavaScript object. We can set ID there, the value of ID, and callback will be our function. You don't need to do any of this, but it really can help you. And then we will return ID so you can have reference to your code, if you know what I mean. So ID will be returned and we will have it. So that's everything about bind method. We don't have to do anything else. Now call method will go through the list of events and call every anonymous function bind to it. So we will say if we have this event created, if it's different than null, then we will execute our code. Otherwise we will do nothing, and this is the part that makes it beautiful. So if you put into some code, call this event with a name, you pass a name to it. If there is nothing attached to it, it will not execute. So you cannot break existing code that you need to append with some functionality. So we'll say if it's not different than null, we will go through each element. We can use we'll do it like name. X will be our ID. So remember, this will be our ID, value of ID. And we can do this like to call this function. So callback is variable that we added in when we pushed our event into the list. This will be our function that we pass when we bind to a certain event by name. And we can execute it. Okay, so that's all, nothing else. We will create unbind method later. So now we will create just simple HTML reference JavaScript okay, so basically that's all for HTML. Now I will represent my problem with a just simple function. Okay, so just imagine that I have a function that's called load something inside the JavaScript file that I need to append, and this function is used through every 100 project, and it's got its code that's working. So at certain point when something is done, I need to say to someone page is loaded, or I have appended this results to certain div or a certain page element. And then in order not to break functionality like using jQuery or putting my call me function that will execute my custom code, if this call me function is not presented in all 150 projects, then JavaScript will break here. It will say call me doesn't exist. So I need to create event that will be executed. So I say call event called page loaded, and this will execute every anonymous function that we binded to a certain code. So what do we need to do now? This is done. This is something that's done. We need to attach to events. So we say JsEvents bind, and we say page loaded, and we bind anonymous function. This is an anonymous function, and this anonymous function will say alert unloaded first time. It doesn't matter really what you write there, this is just for test. So if we reload our page, nothing should happen. Unbind event is not defined. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, so nothing happens. If if we go to our code and we call this method that needs additional functionality or events, wait a second, I had another, maybe it's typo, just to see it. JSON, probably some typo, just a second. JsEvents, this events. This is the problem. So we'll see. This event's name is undefined. So why did this event's name? We created it, so it's a new array. If it's equal, no. Okay, that's the problem. Okay, unloaded first time. Now everything works as it should. So basically we didn't create any custom functionality inside existing method, so we cannot break it. If this event is not binded or created inside the JsEvents object, it will create no JavaScript exception or errors, because we already check that. If it doesn't exist, don't do anything, just go. So I can demonstrate it like this. I will comment this code, and there is console of Firebug. Nothing happens. Nothing. So this is easy way to just handle JavaScript events. I will just create unbind method, and it will be okay. I have an ID. That's an ID, but we will also pass a name of event because it's easier to go through. So we will say, okay, if we just check if the past event exists, then we say, okay, if this ID exists inside a list of events, attached methods, then we will just say okay, this should work. So when I say delete, I can do it inside the function like this. I will get an ID. This will be my ID, which I can alert. So we all know what's the ID, just to test it. This is the ID that we get. Event is executed. Okay, so we don't need this anymore, but unloaded first time. Then I will remove this. Okay, just to demonstrate what do I mean, I will duplicate this call, load something. So we should get two alerts. Unloaded first time, unloaded first time. So if I say in our code to remove uncalled first time, and I don't need to call it again, I will say event and ID, pass ID, the value that we get when we call this bind method. So second time when this method is called, it will not execute page loaded because we removed it after the first call. Let's try and do that. Unloaded first time, okay, and there is no second alert. So this is working. Okay, this is simple functionality and you can use it for any purpose you want. I just wanted to give an example how you can avoid those ifs, if this, if that, inside your functionality, just to create some custom code for custom project. Like it could be done like this: if some global variable, example global my project ID is equal testing 1 2 3, then execute this script. But we all that achieved with a simple line that will not break your code, and you can attach to it as many times as you want. So that's it. If you like it, give thumbs up. If you don't like it, don't put thumbs down. Okay, so bye.